don't know if you've heard about this judge that sent over 500 text messages or about 500 text messages. And I really shouldn't be that concerned about getting that number right because the number is so high as to be totally ridiculous. In any case, she sent all of these text messages while this trial was going on. So if you're sending text messages, how are you paying attention to what's going on? Some of the text messages were about the other attorneys, what people were wearing, entirely inappropriate. Let me just show you a little bit of who she is first, and then I'm going to go over to the complaint just so you can get a better understanding. But the person is Judge Tracy Soderstrom, and this is coming out of Oklahoma. And you can see there a typical campaign website, Soderstrom for district judge. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. And so this is her website. I'm going to come back to that. I want to actually show you this complaint first, just a couple of parts of it, so you know what we're talking about when we go over to learn a little bit more about her on her website. So as you see here on the complaint, this was filed October 10th, 2023. So just a week ago. But apparently there was a lot of conversation about this, about what had been going on prior to that. So I'm going to scroll down to this section because I want to give you just a little bit of background before we go over to her website. So it says gross partiality in office, gross neglect of duty, oppression in office, lack of temperament for judicial office, impropriety, and failure to supervise. Now, number 7, paragraph 7 says, while presiding over a murder trial, this is how important this is, a murder trial. While presiding over a murder trial beginning on June 7th, 2023, the respondent, the judge, exchanged over 500 text messages with her bailiff, Angela Miller, in which they mocked the physical appearance of attorneys, jurors, and witnesses, and used offensive language to deride the state's attorneys. The respondent and her bailiff called murder trial witnesses liars, admired the looks of a police officer who was testifying, disparaged the local defense bar, expressed bias in favor of the defendant, and displayed gross partiality against the state. Number 9 says respondent and her bailiff text back and forth with each other continuously during the active portions of the murder trial. Respondent placed her personal cell phone toward the front of her lap outside the view of others in the courtroom. Respondent was scrolling Facebook, accessing various phone applications, and texting for extended periods of time. So that gives you some background as to what was going on. Remember, this is a murder trial. You just heard over 500 text messages. How are you even paying attention? And then to make all of those comments about other parties. Now, I want to actually go to the website so that we can take a look at it because I want to have some background about who this person is. Sorry, I just clicked back on the complaint again. I want to go to the website. All right, let's pull this up and see. She's, of course, running for district judge here. It says, meet Tracy. Am I on the home page or the about page? Let's go to the home page. We want to start on the home page. And there you've got a picture of her there. She's got her donate button. It says constitutional advocate, small business owner and rancher, and veteran. Endorsed by both county sheriffs. Says there, I'm committed to zealously following the law. I have built a small business based on compassion and serving others. So here she speaks of compassion. In the military, I learned the value of service. Now my mission is to serve you as your next district judge with competence, experience, and ardent defense of the rule of law. And that's pretty much the first page. Let's go to her about page so we can learn a little bit more about her. Meet Tracy. And she actually has some pictures up here. Veteran. Following in the footsteps of her father and grandfather, Tracy joined the Oklahoma National Guard at the age of 17, vowing to defend our Constitution. Then, under compassionate, in her nearly 2 decades of legal experience, Tracy has represented the most vulnerable in our communities. Compassion is at the forefront of Tracy's work with clients of her legal practice because she understands it's sometimes what they need most. So, probably a lot of people are going to really be critiquing this part of what she's talking about because she's talking about being compassionate here. And yet, some of the language that she used, and I'm going to go over all of that in a separate video, I'm going to go over that whole petition, but some of the language that she used to talk about the witnesses and the other attorneys will not sound compassionate. And you've already heard me go through that first part there. It's not sounding compassionate. All right, let's go to the next section here. So then it says experienced. Tracy is the only candidate to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court. She is also licensed to practice before the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, the Oklahoma Supreme Court, and all federal courts in Oklahoma. Several of her appeals have made case law. And then you have loving mother and grandmother. Tracy and her husband David have been married for 26 years and own a cattle operation outside of Chandler. Tracy is a proud mother of 4, grandmother of 7, and a former foster parent. So it sounds like she, has been really committed to leading a lifestyle that we would normally say, hey, we are in supportive of this. And then on her last page here, she's got how you can get in contact with her and work with her. So that sort of gives you this sort of background information on her here. And she's now being accused of, some of these things we see here in this complaint. And it's not good at all. And let me touch on a couple more things before I wrap this up. And you can let me know what your thoughts are with this, if any of this is going to cause her to be censured or them to ask for her removal. I mean, what she did happened in her capacity as a judge. Sometimes you get censured and it's because of things that you did, not necessarily in your judicial capacity, but because you did something maybe in your private life or something in the community that reflects poorly on you as a judge. Because when you're a judge, especially not just an attorney, but a judge, people put you higher up on a pedestal. They have higher expectations from you. The ethics that people are expecting from you is just at this higher level. And so even when you do things outside in the community or personal things that aren't even related to your work as a judge, that may be used to censure you. And in this case, this was actually in her capacity as a judge. So we can imagine that this petition, this complaint against her, is going to be taken very seriously. There was one thing I wanted to say to here, and it's this part further down, because it was like, even after she realized some things were going on, I want you to understand this action that she took next. It says, the bailiff sitting in a witness box or at a small desk near the respondent sent and received text messages during the murder trial as well. On a separate occasion, the respondent and the bailiff discussed by text which juror instructions would best fit their desired outcome. Okay, not now. We just saw her website that says she upholds the rule of law. This is talking about what she wanted and not what was going to be the outcome of the case. So it sounds like they were going to submit jury instructions that were what they wanted, which would be or would sound like a total violation of judicial ethics. But here's this next part I want to talk about. After publicity regarding respondent's excessive phone use during trial, the respondent had the security camera moved where she could not be observed. When the camera was subsequently returned to its original location, a black box was inserted to block out the bottom half of the viewing area so the respondent could not be seen. The blocking was eventually removed. Now, at this point, here's the thing. Here's the key. We all make mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. So at the point you're being called out, that might be a good point to say, okay, let me backtrack here. And I was just in this position recently, and it took me a second because we always get defensive. It's like, no, well, well, what I was really thinking was this. And then you go, well, wait a second. Okay, maybe I'm just wrong here. She had an opportunity to do that. She had an opportunity to apologize to the attorneys, to apologize to the court, to apologize to the bailiff, but she didn't do that. Instead, she took an additional action that would allow her to continue doing what she was doing. And so this is going to be very concerning for the parties who are going to have to give a response on this, a response to this. And it's well known now in the community. It's been in the newspaper. So a lot of people already know about it. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Don't forget to like the video, click the notification bell, and mwah, peace.